Now that we've seen how we can manipulate something that already exists, let's learn how we can create this from scratch. So how is that done? Like a lot of other programs, we start with the File menu and we just choose New. And you'll also notice we have Control, and if you're on a Mac, it's going to be Command-N. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And I'm going to essentially teach you how we can create the same thing that we see here on this screen. So this is what it looks like when you are creating a brand new document in Photoshop. So essentially, they give you a number of different options on top, right? Some preset templates if you want to, if you're working on photos, right? They give you a whole bunch of different templates, prints, different templates, art and illustration, right? And you can see that not only are they giving you different dimensions, but they're also giving you places to start with, right? Kind of nice if you're doing like a web layout, etc. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and create my own, and I'm going to show you how you can even create your own saved layout as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead over here on the right hand side and decide what I'm going to put in, which is going to be an 11 inches by 8.5 inches document, and it's going to be landscape. So you'll notice here I can change the orientation. And then my resolution, this is going to be very important. Resolution is basically how vivid is this going to be? How rich is this going to be? Are you going to be printing it? Or are you going to be putting it on the web? Typically, if you're going to be printing it, you want to be at least 300 ppi. If you're going to be putting it on the web, you can settle at 72 ppi. Okay, typically you don't want it to be too high if you're going to be putting it on the web, essentially for load times. You'll also notice down below, I have my color mode option, I have RGB, and I have my CMYK. Those are going to be the two ones we're going to be focusing on. This stands for red, green, and blue color, and that's typically going to be for the web because that's how your screen reads your images. CMYK is typically going to be for print, which stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. So it really all depends because your printer, like literally the printing machine itself, can only read these colors. So it's very important that we understand what are we generating the document for. And over here we have our 8-bit and our 16-bit. And if we go over here to RGB, it'll say 18-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit. Just really depends on how many colors you're expecting each of your documents to have, like 16,000 colors, 28,000 colors. And if you're going to go up to 32-bit, that's going to be an HDR document. So let's just go ahead and make our 16-bit. And what is going to be the background of your document as you create it? You can actually make it black, white. You can set all these things up ahead of time if you'd like. I'm just going to keep mine at transparent. Okay, and we're just going to keep this for right now. And then I'm going to also click on this little guy right here. What is this one about? This is going to allow me to save this as a preset. So therefore, I don't have to do this anymore. Okay, I don't have to set all these things up. So now when I click on that, I'm going to be able to save this as a preset. I'll just go ahead and say 11 by 8.5 landscape. All right, and then I'll just say 72 ppi. Fantastic. Click on Save Preset, and now look under Saved, I will see there that is. And anytime I want to use it, I'll be able to come back to here and won't have to reset all these things. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click Create, and now I have a blank document all ready to go. Great. Now let's start building out our document. Now that we have this all set up, you will see I have an empty layers panel. Great. But you'll also notice that all my panels have remained the same. It's great. This is exactly how I want it. So our first lesson when we're bringing in things from the outside is going to be placing. Placing, not pasting, not importing. Photoshop and a lot of other Adobe programs refers to this as placing. So placing essentially means we're bringing in some items from the outside. In this case, the item we're bringing in is going to be one of those images, right, of the ram and of the iceberg, etc. So I click on File. You'll see here I have two options, either to place embedded or to place linked. When you're placing linked, essentially implies that there might be some changes happening to that file, and you want to kind of have that linked up, essentially. So if I'm working with a coworker and they're making some changes, it automatically gets updated here on my file. We're just going to do place embedded, so it's just going to be static right here inside of this document. So I click on that, and I'm going to go to my files. Okay, and I'm going to go over to here to all my little friends here. I'm going to bring in the big iceberg. I simply just click on that, and that's going to come in. And again, you'll notice I have my little bounding box, which is great. I also have my little circle slash, and I also have my little check mark there. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and resize that however I want to, holding down my shift key and rotating accordingly. And then I'm going to hit enter when I'm done. So I'm going to very quickly do the other two. Place embedded. Bring in my RAM. Hold down my shift key, constraining the proportions. Hit enter. Don't forget that hitting enter part. Very important. You'll learn that fast enough anyway. And then let's go to our medium iceberg and just bring that down. Holding down my shift key. Great. And then this time I'll just hit the check mark in case that's your fancy. Great. Now that I have these, let's see what we can do about some initial layer management. Okay, you'll see that it takes in the name of the actual document that I started with. Okay, that's great. So maybe I don't necessarily want that exact same thing, so I can just simply double click on that, and then I will just say, instead, this is going to be iceberg 1. Okay, and this is going to be iceberg 2. Okay, very easily, just simply double click. All right, and there we go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, and I'm going to have you catch up and do all the things that we did in terms of placing, resizing, rotating, etc. Okay, we'll come back to you, and good luck.